We're a family of 4 who left the UK to travel full-time as a family back in January this year, 2026. And we have just completed our first 3-month stay. Our visa runs out soon in Malaysia. So I thought it would be a good time to tell you all about our reflections of Malaysia, what we thought of it as a family, how we worked everything from budget to what we thought of the people, everything. We stayed for a week in Kuala Lumpur, right in the city, right by KLCC Park. And then we did a month in Penang, and then 6 weeks in Langkawi, and then we're back in Kuala Lumpur here for 3 nights. We leave today, and that is right by the airport in Sepang. And I'll tell you in the next video about why we chose Malaysia first, because in the next video I'm going to talk a bit about how you decide where to start when you do this, when you world school or when you travel full time with a family. How do you know where to start, and also how to decide where next. So obviously we've had to do that. We are leaving Malaysia and we are traveling somewhere next. So I thought I'd put that in the next video. So this is all about the nitty-gritty of Malaysia. So the first thing is our visas. So we are British passport holders and we can have a 3-month visa here in Malaysia for free. You just need to apply online and you get it straight away. It's electronic. So that's how the visa works. So that is one reason we came here. I'll tell you that one already. We get a 3-month visa. We also got our exit plan as well. So we paid for a bus to go into Singapore, and that was the cheapest way we found to do it. But obviously we didn't know where we were going to be when we left. But we have to have an exit plan when you come into a lot of these countries. So that's what we did. Sometimes you can get them, you can refund them, you can cancel them and get cancellation policy on them. For that one we didn't actually, but it wasn't a big cost, so that was fine. We didn't know what we were doing to start. So the people of Malaysia, wow, just wow. Very hospitable, very kind. Just felt so loving around them, very, very lovely people, and many speak English, although we did try to speak Malaysian. So when we first came, the first month we were quite big on trying to learn the language, but I think by month 2 we sort of let that go a little bit because they spoke such good English. And then by the end of month 3 we were like, oh, we need to get back into this. And I think it's a language that I could have really got on board with and really started to learn. Not so sure about the next place, but I did enjoy trying to learn the language here. The roads, so they drive on the same side as the road as we do back in England, so that was good. The road system, the way they drive, is what we would call perhaps a little bit frantic, a little bit, they push in a bit, but it's nothing like what I'm expecting for the rest of Southeast Asia. And there's no honking of horns when they do this. It's like it's done and it's expected and it's respected a little bit as well. So they do cut in, but it's kind of a given and it doesn't feel bad. I didn't hardly hear any honking of horns. We didn't drive. We did have an international driving license, but we ourselves didn't drive, purely because, the cost of it and whether insurance was included or not was a bit of a grey area, let's say. So we didn't actually drive, but of any of the places in Southeast Asia, I think it would be Malaysia we'd drive. I think when we come back, because we do plan to come back here, we will look at driving, getting a rental car. Safety. So if you're travelling with a family, this has got to be high on the list, right? Safety. And I would highly recommend Malaysia for safety. Whether or not it's because it's predominantly a Muslim country, they have a big faith here. There's no, they don't drink alcohol really. You can get alcohol here, but Muslims don't drink it, I believe. So there's none of that kind of culture. So it does feel safe. I was getting up in Langkawi and doing these talk videos, a 15-minute walk at 7:30 in the morning, and I felt safe to do that. I didn't really go out at night on my own. It wasn't because I didn't feel safe. It was just because I didn't feel the need to. So yeah, I would definitely say Malaysia felt safe to us. The weather then, so we've been here on the west coast, so Kuala Lumpur, Penang, Langkawi back to Kuala Lumpur, all on the west coast. And I'd say the weather's been sort of around 30, 33 degrees. I've had a look, and it gets a bit confusing because they have different sort of wet and dry seasons depending on whether you're on the east coast or the west coast. I believe between February and September on the west coast is the drier time. So if you're choosing to come here, that's something to bear in mind, isn't it, weather? Okay, the biggie for us, I hesitate to say this, but food. Okay, so the food here in Malaysia. First impressions was, I'll just say first actually, I'm hesitating because Malaysia, particularly Penang, is known as the food capital of Southeast Asia. It's big, it's hyped up, the food here is a big thing. So I'm a bit apprehensive, a bit hesitant to say these things, but it's from our perspective, from our family that I say this. It's not a given for everybody. But our first impressions of seeing the food here was when we first got here, we needed some snacks, we needed something to eat. We went into a 7-Eleven, a little local convenience shop, and it was just sugar. It was just like, there's no fresh fruit in these convenience shops. There was no like healthy bars or anything. It was crisps, rows and rows of crisps, sugar, chocolate, sweets, fizzy drinks. Like, you're just overwhelmed by it. I found it hard to pick something healthy in these convenience shops. And sugar is in everything, pretty much. There's a lot of sugar in the food. You actually have to ask for no sugar in things like drinks. They'll add sugar into drinks if you don't ask for it without. So that was something to be aware of. And then we found out that there was quite high diabetes in Malaysia. A lot of people have diabetes in Malaysia. Maybe rice, a lot of carbs, eating a lot of rice can give you that insulin spike, but a lot of these other snacks as well, perhaps. We have, my eldest is undiagnosed but neurodivergent, and she's quite a picky eater. My youngest isn't so bad, but she will tend to copy my eldest. So when it comes to food for them, we're looking for Western food, and they wouldn't eat any of the local stuff. So that was tricky for us. And then going on that same theme, I'm vegetarian. Again, I found it difficult to find food here. A lot of the stuff had meat or fish. I struggled to even find just some vegetables. Any of the main meals had a tiny bit of veg in it. So struggled to find veg, struggled to find food without meat or fish. So that was a struggle for me. And then when it comes to hubby, who would eat most foods, the foods he did eat was like really spicy. Even when he asked for no spicy, it came quite spicy for him. So as a family, we struggled eating out for those reasons. But we also struggled for eating in, because where we were staying, they don't have what we would say is a full kitchen. There's no oven. The last place we stayed in, Langkawi, just had a little hob, electric hob, which was a conduction hob. So it would only work with one pan, which was like a frying pan. So difficult to boil veg. So I didn't tend to do that. No oven, so we couldn't just put the kids' chicken nuggets and buy them from the supermarket, because they did have them here. We just didn't have the means to cook it. Or a lot of people would have air fryers, that kind of thing. So I know that's not healthy still, but it makes it more cheaper if you can do that from home, right? Rather than buying Western food out. So that was a big issue for us, really, when it came to food in general. And I think when we come back to Malaysia, we will try and look for a full kitchen, but if not, if we're going to spend the full 3 months here again, I would look to, maybe a lot of people do buy these air fryers and things. Something I found a bit odd when it comes to still in the category of food is the supermarkets. So back in England, we're trying to reduce plastic and take our own bags and everything. They just love bagging everything. So all their fruit and veg is open. So we go to a supermarket and we're like, oh, so much plastic, all the fruit and veg is bagged in plastic. Theirs isn't, but then you're expected to put it all in a bag, individual bags for each items, then take it to a person who weighs it and puts a sticker on for the price, and then you take that to the checkout. So the system's good. I love the system that they would do all the weighing for you, and then when it comes to paying, it's all done. They can just put it through the till. But I just didn't like the fact everything had to be bagged. So you have bananas that have to go in one bag. You have a pineapple that has to go in a bag. It felt a lot of waste. And we tried to take our shopping bags every time, and they'd be quick to put them in a plastic bag. So that's something I found in sort of relation to food as well. Activities then in Malaysia, you know, you're not going to be stuck for doing things, whether it's in the sea, looking at marine life or things like that, or boat tours. You've got lots of things you can do on land, wherever you are, Penang, on the islands or mainland, there's things to do. There's temples to see. There's we went to a bird park in KL when we first got here. You know, there's zoos, there's aquariums, there's viewing points, platforms that you can go and look in, you know, loads and loads of different things. So you're not going to be stuck for activities. I'll come on to the sort of costs of them in a minute. World schooling, particularly for us, we found world schooling was here in Kuala Lumpur in the city and also in Penang. So Penang had 3 meetups a week, so that was really good. So yeah, lots to do in here in Malaysia. So moving on to the cost then, this is the big one. I don't really cover costs in my videos. I'm just going to talk about it once here, so it'll be a little bit in depth in this bit. So obviously, you know, Southeast Asia compared to England is going to be cheaper for pretty much everything. That's a given, right? Food, you could be looking anywhere from £10 to £30 up. It depends. Are you eating local? Are you eating Western food? A pizza would be about 40 ringgit. So that's pretty much all my kids would eat because they like sausages, but they don't eat pork here. So it's chicken sausages and they won't eat that. So it was pretty much chicken nuggets and pizza. I know it doesn't sound good. It is what it is. And your pizza is about 40 ringgits, which is just shy of £10 sort of marker. So yeah, you could eat for between £10 and £30 for a family of 4. My kids would share a pizza, so I guess it's not technically 4 meals, but yeah, that's where we're at with that. Grabs. So grabs are grabs. You can actually get food through a Grab. Grab is an app on your phone, so you can order food through it, which we ended up doing quite a bit, and you can get your taxi through it. So a taxi, for example, average daily cost for a taxi where we were going, just the general to and fro in, was between £1 and £5 for a Grab. For an airport run, roughly speaking, about £14. So there's your prices for taxis. So easy and cheap to get around. Activity costs, somewhere for a family of 4, you're looking at between £50 and £80. So again, that's sort of what we pay back home, right? So the touristy things are kind of on a similar path, which is why we just did one a week, one activity a week, because we had to factor in that. And it's not just the activities, you've got to factor in getting there, so you've got to factor in your Grab, and you've got to factor in your food and drink as well. I had a massage, it was over an hour, about an hour and 10 minutes, and that was £20. So that gives you an idea of some things. Accommodation then. So we're learning our way. Like I say, we've just come to the end of 3 months. So accommodation, we actually budgeted for £1,000 for accommodation because we had no clue. And to give you an idea of what we spent, and this is, so Airbnb is our first stay in Kuala Lumpur, and that was for a week in the city. It had a lovely jungle theme for the kids, so it was a little bit more than what you would get. We actually had to pay extra for the pool and the gym here, which normally it's included, but we didn't find that out till later on, so in hindsight, lovely thing. So 7 nights in the centre of the city. For a week, it was £360. So that was kind of what we were paying back at London prices. So that's not really any different, is it? But you could have got cheaper. And like I say, you could have got it where it included the pool. Penang, we had 28 nights, and that one cost £805. Now, that one was Airbnb, but we know there were people staying there who would stay for the full 3 months in that place. They would rent the place out for a year and go and do their visa runs and come back to there. So they would rent it out for a year, and it would work out about £200 or £300 a month if you did that. So even though you might go somewhere else, travel, do a week somewhere else, and that's an additional cost to the one you're already paying out, it still works out cheaper, and you only have to do that every 3 months. So that's how people got that a lot cheaper. So it was a bit gutting that we're paying 800 quid and there were people there paying 200-300, but we live and learn, and this is what we're going to take with us to the next place, right? But it was getting cheaper, so we had Langkawi next, and we ended up staying. I've done a video on Penang and Langkawi, so go and check those out specifically. But for Langkawi, we ended up staying 6 weeks there because it was cheaper if we got 2 months' rent, if we paid for 2 months' rent. We did actually get there through an Airbnb initially. We paid for 28 nights in an Airbnb, which is £733. It was dire. We complained, we asked for our money back. We went through Airbnb because the host wouldn't give us the majority back. So we ended up with 641 back and paid 733. We only spent 2 nights there. It was late in the day on the 3rd night, so we were quite happy to pay for the 3 nights. So we ended up getting 641 back from that. And then we literally ended up over the road, which is where we ended up getting a discount if we stayed for 2 months, which we knew we wouldn't stay for the full 2 months, but it was worked out cheaper. So it was, we had to pay £225 deposit. That was a cleaning deposit and a general breakages deposit, £225 for that. And the actual stay for the full 2 months, even though we weren't going to be there for the full 2 months, was £1,122. So that works out at £561 a month. So that's a lot better, isn't it, than the 700 and the 800 that we'd previously paid. So we're getting it down. We're working on it. We're getting it down. In the next place, we have booked, I think this is what we're going to try and do. Let's see if it works. But in the next place, we've booked a week with Airbnb. And in that week, we're going to look around for the rentals because we know we want to stay in that place for 3 months because there's a big community of world schoolers there. So we know we want to stay there for the full 3 months, which is where you're going to get your better deals when it comes to rentals if you're not going to use Airbnb or the likes of booking.com. We did question, is it worth just staying with Airbnb? Because the last place didn't have internet. Your bills aren't included in that price either. So they took water. Normally you'd pay water, but we didn't have to pay water. We had to pay electric in the last place in Langkawi. So that is accommodation. And I'll just talk a little bit now about our budget. Our budget is, we haven't shifted it from when we started. And like I say, everyone's budget's different. I don't think it's a competition who can do this the cheapest. It's about how you want to live your month to month, your day to day as a family. What works for you, what doesn't. We've budgeted 2,500 for a month. I'll go into that. So we've moved it around a little bit. Like I said, initially we put £1,000 for accommodation. We know that's nowhere near now, but we do still have to factor in deposits. So we've knocked that down to 900 and put the other 100 elsewhere. So 2,500 budget. This is just where we've put it. This is very fluid. This moves about. It's just so we've got something, and we use an app. I'll get onto the apps in a minute. But we've got £300 for groceries, £350 for eating out. Daily travel, so your grabs, is 100. Flights and ferry, so the bigger travel expenses, £300. Accommodation, £900. Activities, £400. And like I say, we do one big activity a week, and then any other things like shopping would be in that category. Health, so that's things like if you need any medicines, or me and hubby have contact lenses, so if we need them, they come out of that. If you need anything dental, so we've got a little budget there on a month-to-month basis for 100. That's not including our insurance. Girls' budget, I give them a little bit of pocket money, just put that's like £35 a month, and phone, so that's £15. So like I said, this doesn't cover our insurance because we've paid that annually. It doesn't include our subscriptions back home, so things like Netflix, business costs, Canva. Hubby pays for the YouTube subscription so we don't have ads. I've got Audible. So those things aren't included on our month-to-month budget out here because we've just put a budget in a UK bank to cover those costs so we don't have to think about them. So obviously it would end up being a lot more than, well, not a lot more, but a bit more than 2,500 if you count all that in. But the budget app is being really useful because it helps you go as you go along. I don't know if you've used them before, but it's the first time I've come to use them. And there's 2 apps I've used at the minute, so I'll go into that. So Good Budget is really good. I found it really useful. If you like the sort of envelope style, like I've just said there, so that would be an envelope for groceries, an envelope for eating out. If you like that style, Good Budget is good for that. It is free. You can get paid version, of course. you can connect it to your bank. So when the transactions happen, it comes out your app as well, which is quite handy, but I don't like the idea of that. So there is the option to not attach your bank to the app. You can also share it, so you can share access to it with your husband. We tried that, and then he never did anything with it anyway, so it was pointless for us. The only thing I found difficult with Good Budget is when it came to the end of the month and you wanted to start again, it was hard to like wipe the slate clean. Like I didn't know how to do it, and then I felt like I lost the data and things like that. I'm not a tech person. It probably wouldn't happen to you because you probably would know a bit about how to do these things. But I just struggled, January, February, March, I just didn't know how to do it. So I asked ChatGPT, I said, can you help me out here, get me a different budget that is easier at the end of the month? And I'm now on what's called Envy. It is simpler to use. And it's a one-off payment of £5. So I thought, well, it's not much to lose if it's not for me. So I'm currently using Envy. You have an option on there to put it as an Excel and try to send it to your email, I think, as an Excel sheet. So you've got a way of keeping a record of it. Because I haven't got a record of Good Budget. They do reports, they do pie charts and everything. It's really good. And I've screenshotted them. Where they are now, I don't know, because I've messed about with all my photos. But so it's good in every way. I just struggled to set it all up again for the next month. So that is budget. So yeah, basically, in a nutshell then, I would say that Malaysia is definitely a good place to come if you're world schooling, if you want to travel full time as a family or just travel with your family generally. Malaysia is a good place to come. It's safe, it's clean, the people are lovely. What more do you want? It's sunny. Yeah, I've loved it. It's been really good. World schooling community has been great here. The only downside for us, which is an upside for most people, was the food. So, but forgive me for saying that because I begrudgingly say that. It just didn't work for us. But we'll try again when we come back. And next time we come back, we want to try the East Coast, the Perhentian Islands and Randang Islands, and Ipoh in the mainland, there where we'd like to come next. So that's Malaysia. Thank you for having us, Malaysia. We will be back. Thanks for watching. Much love. Bye for now.